Holy Spirit. They had been fed, and now they could not find Jesus or his disciples. So they got into boats and crossed over the Sea of Galilee to the town of Capernaum. Surely this man will feed us again. Surely this one who fed us will keep on doing so, just like the manna that fed our ancestors in the wilderness. What Jesus said to them when they found him was not exactly what they expected or wanted to hear. Don't waste your energy striving for perishable food. Work for the food that endures, food that nourishes your life, food that the Son of Man provides. And still they push Jesus. We might believe you, but you need to show us a sign to prove yourself, to prove who you are. After all, there was the manna. Jesus responded, the real significance of the manna is not that Moses gave you bread from heaven, but that my Father is right now offering you bread from heaven, the real bread. The bread of God came down from heaven and is giving life to the world. I am the bread of life. Bread. We think of it on many levels. We are reminded of the simple elements: flour, salt, yeast, maybe some egg to glaze the crust, and their connection with the foundational processes of life: the sun ripening the grain, earth and rain, human labor in harvesting and creatively transforming these raw materials into life-sustaining nourishment. Attention to the ingredients connects us to a web of labor and laborers whose efforts make this food possible. Bread can also connect us to generations past, whose ingenuity and fortitude laid the foundation for the bread before us. Immigrants packed their trunks with wheat seeds when they journeyed to the Great Plains of North America. Refugees sewed seeds into the hems of their skirts and their children's shirts for the voyage, so the new life they longed for would be sustainable in a new home. They knew that even with a bit of bread, they could be nourished. And what about our bread? We know that we require physical stuff to survive, and God knows that too. God incarnate, the Word made flesh, lived among us, experiencing the joys, the needs, the hard places that we too experience. Jesus fed hungry people, real, tangible food, as we saw in last week's gospel with the feeding of the 5,000. But is it enough? Or how much is enough? The people came to Jesus looking for a continuous food supply. I wonder if in some senses we do that too. If there is enough food, enough money, enough you fill in the blank, then I am okay, then I am secure, then my life is good. Our worth, our comfort, our value is measured in terms of what we have. How much does it take? Are the things we have the ultimate measure of our worth? And how do we see the stuff in our lives? I guess what I'm asking about is perspective. Through what frame do we see our lives? Think about the children of Israel on their way through the desert. They were fed each day with manna. One can explore this a bit. What actually was the manna? Scholars have suggested alternatively that it comes from the resin of the tamarisk tree, or is a form of lichen, or comes from plant lice that feed on the tamarisk tree. So, is it bread from heaven, or is it lice? Is it the substance itself, or the one who sends it? If our manna has to drop straight out of heaven looking like a loaf of bread, perfectly formed, warm, and crusty, then chances are we might be hungry a lot. When we do not get the miracle we are praying for, we may think that God is ignoring us or punishing us, or that God is not there at all. We may start complaining, comparing ourselves to other people and wondering why they seem to have more to eat than we do. We may miss out on a lot of things God is doing for us because they are too ordinary, like plant lice and tamarisk trees, or too transitory, like manna that lasted only one day. If, on the other hand, we are willing to look at our lives as a gift from God, things open up. Our lives are filled with manna. It may take different forms. The Israelites moved on to more standard forms of food once they reached the Promised Land. Maybe it takes our being open to seeing the giver of the gift, knowing the one who feeds us in so many ways. Little things, a smile, a kind word, a good meal. Bigger things, one who loves us, a job that gives us an opportunity to work and provide for others. Music that tells the glory of God. All kinds of things. Think of the giver. Treasure the gifts and be mindful of where they come from. And perhaps the bigger question, for what do you hunger? Yes, we all need to eat. We all need the physical stuff. But Jesus is about more than that. He wants to be our bread, our sustenance, our nourishment, our daily strength, our source of satisfaction. Jesus is bread, but he wants to fill the hunger of our hearts and not just our stomachs. He wants to fill the gnawing, aching emptiness that we try to fill with other things, to satisfy the longing or the boredom which we use substances of all sorts to quiet, to put an end to the fretting, the worry about having enough of anything that will in the end possess us, rather than allowing ourselves to fall into the hands of the ones for whom we were made. Jesus promised that he himself is enough. When the people surrounding him asked Jesus what they had to do God's work, his response was to invite them in, to believe in the one sent by God. That invitation extends to each of us as well. There is no fine print in this invitation, no list of preconditions or agreed upon doctrines or language. We are invited to come, to live in the love that Jesus extended to each of us, to be filled beyond our wildest expectations, to be nourished and strengthened and understood and loved, always. It is an adventure. We have no guarantees about how our lives will unfold, where trusting in God will lead us. What we do know is that we will never walk alone, that God is with us, that God always supplies enough. Jesus said, "I am the bread of life. Come, take, and eat." In the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.